2021 is in the books, so it's time to rate all the drivers from the F1 2021 season, and it's 2022 looking forward to next season. 20 drivers to rate and rank with 6 categories: GOAT, great, good, meh, bad, awful. And we're going to go from left to right, and we're going to kick off with a 4-time world champion who I think's dog shit. And but he had a couple of decent races, but overall he didn't look much better than Stroll, guys. That's the truth.
I don't think he looked better than Stroll at all. I think it's decent races. He kind of locked into the positions.
I admit that, but at the end of the day, he did get a few podiums. Luck, yes, but you know what? I'm saying.
Well, overall, I think Lance Stroll was more consistent at the two.
So do I.
Even though Vettel finished ahead of him in the championship, I think Lance Stroll was the better of the two over the season. Without Vettel's 2 high-place finishes, he wouldn't have been anywhere near Stroll. And I know you could say, well, take away Stroll's high-place finishes, but I feel like Stroll actually earned his points, whereas when Vettel got his 2 high points, like I said, it was more due to the strategy, where he was just left out late, and he kind of did lock into them due to safety cars. So I mean,
I'm saying bad.
Yeah, and there was a lot of spins as well. It didn't help that the longer the season went, the Aston Martin seemed to get less competitive.
I think they just focused on this year's car.
However, I feel like at the start when they were actually in the midfield battle, I think at the very start you could make a case that the Aston Martin was up there at the start of the season with maybe the 5th fastest car, I think. But then I would say it did drop off towards the end.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think Vettel at the start was pretty terrible. He did get better towards the end, but I think
the car was a lot worse.
The first half of the season when the car was better, he wasn't that good. And yeah, so I mean that's why.
And that's about it, guys. Next up, though,
to say, it'd be disappointing. I mean, I've got people say Lance Stroll's a pay driver, yet Vettel didn't go and demolish him. So make of that what you will.
That's it, guys. But next up we have Yuki Sonoda, and I'm going to say awful. I'll admit the last couple of races this season, he actually did no bad. A couple of good finishes, but from the second race to about the 19th race, he was fucking atrocious.
I mean, so many times this guy was getting knocked out in Q1 even. While Gasly was qualifying in the top 6. Did he really underperform? Did Gasly overperform? We don't really know, but I mean, more often than not, Gasly was beating him, and it wasn't even close. It's not like Gasly was beating Tsunoda every race, but it was only by like a 10th or 2. I mean, a lot of times there was massive gaps. You could argue this was the teammate battle with the biggest discrepancy between it this season.
Yep.
Whether he was awful or not, I don't know. But for me, I think he's the most disappointing driver this season.
And that's the bottom line, brother.
Yeah.
Next up, though, we have Pierre Gasly. Pretty good season for AlphaTauri. Didn't really have many bad races. Qualified in the top 5 more or less every race, apart from like 3, which is good going. And I'm going to say great.
Aye, for me it was great, aye.
Aye, big Pierre Gasly. Anything to add there?
Well, you think he didn't have a good season? I think he did.
When did I say
A
that?
couple of weeks ago, you said no, he wasn't that good. For me, he's up there, arguably driver of the season. I mean,
I don't think he's that good.
He kept sticking it in top. Maybe his races weren't that great, but I mean, I just don't think that the AlphaTauri was that good a car. Like, you know what I mean? I think the race pace was.
That's alright. You're entitled to believe what you fucking think.
But I mean, alright, okay.
Alright. Right. Dickhead. Next up, we've two-time world champion fucking Fernando Alonso, dickhead. Your man. Fucking get stuck into him. I'm going to say good.
Aye, he's a good. I mean, he had some great moments, but overall, kind of expecting a bit more for Alonso. Amazing to see him get on the podium. He essentially won Ocon the race in Hungary by holding up Hamilton. Some good team radios as well. Overall, though, I thought, and he did beat Ocon in the standings. You know, even though Ocon did have that big 25 points from the win. I feel like Alonso was the second fastest driver that weekend, though. I feel like it's sad. I feel like Alonso deserved. I'm not taking nothing away from Ocon. I feel like Alonso deserved that win, but there was there was a lot of weekends where Alonso was just getting knocked out in Q2 and getting out qualified by Ocon and in the races. I mean, most races, to be fair, he did battle back and get points, but a lot of them it was like minor points, and it wasn't bad by any means. You know, he had a good season with some spectacular standout moments, but yeah, I kind of expected more for Alonso, if that makes any sense. I think just because I hold him in a higher regard, you know.
I feel like at the start of the season he was not shit, like, but he was just. I mean, it takes a lot to get used to it again. A couple of years out at that age, and once he got up to speed, but then there was instances where he was getting beat by Ocon, but he was consistently good, but sometimes great. I think that's fair to say. He has high standards, big man. But next up, we have his teammate Esteban Ocon. Won a race, near got a podium in Saudi. He was good. I think him and Alonso actually were equal in terms of qualifying, which I thought was interesting. But I think overall, Alonso was better in the races and shit. But I think Ocon had a good season. He won a race. I'm going to put him behind Fernando.
Yeah, it was good, and he qualified Alonso more times than I thought he would, to be honest. I think the guy definitely, you can tell, I mean, I think he lacks the sort of racecraft that Alonso does.
Yeah.
You look at what's the race where Alonso got the podium?
Qatar.
I mean, Ocon didn't even hold him up for, who was it he was trying to hold up? Perez?
Aye.
He didn't even hold him up for fucking one turn. But I do feel like Alonso would have been fighting a lot more. But I mean, fair play to Ocon. He kept Vettel behind him in Hungary to get the win. Even though Hungary is difficult to overtake, he didn't make any mistakes, and he was pretty good in qualifying as well. I don't recall the exact qualifying statistics, but I imagine Ocon might even have out-qualified Alonso.
I said about 3 minutes ago, big man, they were equal. It was 11-11.
Was it?
Yeah.
Alright, okay, well there you go. I mean, to me that's pretty good. Alonso's not known as a great qualifier, but I wouldn't have predicted that at the start of the season. Out of 22 races, I honestly would have thought like maybe 14-8 Alonso.
Yeah, something like that.
So I think for Ocon to get 11-11, you know,
he did a good job,
that's
guys.
Solid, aye.
Next up, though, we have Italian Jesus no longer with us in terms of F1. He's in Formula E or something.
Can't do. He's no deed. Fuck me.
I know, but I'm going to stick to Giovinazzi and Meh.
Yeah.
I feel like he was a lot better than Kimi this year.
Didn't get as many points as Kimi,
but he was qualifying like 7th some weekends in a car that belongs like in 17th.
See when you're lower down though, sometimes the bottom of the championship standings, they just do not reflect. It's like there was one season in the McLaren, Button beat Alonso. It just wasn't right. Alonso's season at Minardi, he was out qualifying that guy like 2 seconds in qualifying, but that guy finished ahead of Alonso in a race where there was a load of retirement, so he beat him in the championship. And that's kind of what happened with Giovinazzi. I think overall he was much better than Kimi throughout the season, but the races where Kimi finished ahead of Giovinazzi happened to be the races where there was more retirements, and the Alpha ended up scoring points. Or not the Alpha, the Alfa Romeo. So, unfortunate for Giovinazzi. He's now at AF1. He's been replaced by essentially a pay driver.
And that's it.
And a shite bag number 2. So, I would have... I don't know, I'm not a massive fan. Like, I don't think he's got... I don't see him driving for Ferrari one day, but I think he's certainly, good enough to have retained his drive at Alfa Romeo, but he hasn't. So it is what it is.
Sad day for Italian Jesus. Next up, his teammate Kimi obviously hung up the boots or the gloves or the wheel, whatever you want to fucking call it.
For me, is that he had a bad season.
Yeah, I'd stick him behind Vettel, to be honest. I feel like there was so many amateur mistakes he did.
His first season when he left Ferrari to Alfa Romeo, when he was
brilliant.
He got swapped with Leclerc, he was really good. Last season he was meh, and then I think based on last season you could see this sort of season coming, if I'm being honest. So.
Definitely. Next up though we have Georgie Boy Russell, obviously the new Mercedes driver. You know what? If this was just a bit at Russia, fuck, this guy could be fucking pushing goat for what he was doing in that Williams, but I think since Russia he's went to pish.
Yeah, first, up to Russia, great. Qualifying, he was brilliant. And then he went from qualifying in most races to... He went from qualifying into Q3 in most races to barely being able to beat Lettify in qualifying. It was strange. And it seemed to just be when the Mercedes drive got announced, so...
Yeah, I mean, I'm
thinking, did he lose?
Top of good, bottom of great. What do you think? I mean, he did get a podium. He did qualify, like,
got put
third. I know, but he qualified second in a fucking Williams. Like,
you think he'd have better?
He out-qualified Hamilton in the wet in a Williams. And a car it's like 2 seconds slower.
You think he'd have a better season than Alonso and Ocon?
No, but I think the Williams is fucking shit, and I think Alonso, by his standards, it wasn't that great. And I think by Russell, I think he did some fucking...
Right, then stick him where you want.
I'll stick him top of good. What?
Sorry.
That's
Who's up
right.
next?
Nicholas Lettify scored a few points. Definitely not the worst driver on this grid.
I'd stick him behind Giovinazzi and May.
Yeah.
He's not good. He essentially cost Hamilton the title.
Which,
I don't think he deserves to be on the grid, but I don't think he's horrible. I don't think he's as bad
I
as
wouldn't say he's
be.
not the worst driver. Like,
No, he's not the worst driver, but I mean, I think there's probably better drivers out there. There's more deserving drivers. I mean,
is there really much between him and Stroll apart from the fact Stroll can he can sometimes pull something out of a hat,
and he's good in the wet.
Yeah, I mean that's it. Like,
I mean, I think it's sad when you've got Hulkenberg and stuff that are not on the grid, and someone like Latifi is. But that's what it is.
Very true. Next up though, Nikita Mazepin. In the Haas, it was literally a 2-horse race, and he was always finishing second of that 2-horse race.
I feel like he got better the longer the season went. I feel like he stopped making as many mistakes. He got to be a bit more consistent. But for me, it was a bad
I expect
season.
it fuck all, so I'm going to put him top of awful.
Top of awful? Okay. I'd have put him bottom of bad.
Okay, alright, we'll put him top, bottom of bad then. Yeah, right. Next up, with Lewis Hamilton. He was about to become an 8-time world champion, and Nicky went, no. And no Nicholas Hamilton, it was Nicholas Latifi, brother. But loads of mistakes for Hamilton this year. But some good performances. Quickest car, debatable.
I think towards the end it was
definitely the quickest. I'll put him.
I think top of great.
Yeah, we'll stick him top of great, sure.
Not his best season by any means.
Some great moments for Hamilton, like Brazil was a particularly good race, but loads of mistakes, and then loads of bitching as well. But he took the L in Abu Dhabi well, so I'll give him that. Even though he probably wanted to hang himself after it.
I would say if there was one driver that I would back to come from the back of the field to the front of the field, it would be Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Even in the same sort of car, I feel like this guy's his ability to his raw pace and his ability to cut through the fields at times.
Tire management is top notch.
Top. I mean, I don't know if he just fucking lies, but how many times is he like, "Oh, my tires are done, Bono," and then 30 laps later, he's still on them.
I think it's for fucking Netflix.
He's either
he puts on a wee show, guys.
Yeah, he's either bullshitting or he's phenomenal at getting good laps out of shit tires. But for me, he had a great season. And
we put him top of great. He's the highest guy so far. Next up though, with Mick Schumacher.
Hard to judge. No points. Really only battled his teammate Mazepin. I'd say Mick Schumacher definitely had a better season than Mazepin.
I'd stick him bottom.
I was going to say that, but again...
I mean, there was instances where he was racing like Latifi and Russell and Raikkonen in some races, but...
Not enough, really.
I mean, I feel like, we'll put him, I can't do much more. Next up with the shittest bastard known to life, Valtteri Bottas finished third in the standings, but he was a lucky bastard, and his racecraft's shite, and he actually is awful.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to put him in awful.
No, for me it was I'm not gonna lie. When he got announced that he was going to Alpha, he did put in some good performances, but the consistency with this guy is nowhere. It's like one race, one weekend he can stick it on pole and have the same sort of race pace as Hamilton, and then the next race he can be in the middle of the pack and not even make a single overtake. Honestly, I don't get it. They say the Mercedes isn't good at following, but anytime Hamilton's at the back, he cuts through people like a hot knife through butter. And this guy's just stuck behind everybody. To me, last chance for him to win the world title. Probably last chance for him to win a race. I think he ended up picking up one win, but...
Yeah, it was in Turkey.
It wasn't great. I'd say it was I'd put him probably meh.
Bottom?
Top. Maybe top, I don't know. It's up to you. Who you think?
Oh, so we'll stick him there. Right, next up with Max Verstappen. He picked up 70% of all available points, finished in the top 2 in 19...
For me, this guy, I think he's his best season by far. I think
no shit.
I think if everything went fairly and he didn't get rammed out in any races, he would have won the title.
He'd have wrapped up by like Qatar, I think.
He'd have won it
Saudi.
before Abu Dhabi, right? When he went to the last race. I think he did get very lucky in the last race, but overall, I think he was a better driver. I mean, he got took out in Hungary by Bottas, took out in Silverstone by Hamilton. The tyre failure in Turkey or Baku. I mean, you're looking at those races, and there's potentially. I'm not saying he would have won all them. He was winning Baku, but that's potentially 75 points down the drain there. So, for me, Max had his best season. Yep, no doubt that he deserves to go in the GOAT, in my opinion.
That is it, and I believe out of everyone in the grid, they made probably the least mistakes. I'm trying to think. So why? Next up, though, Sergio Perez.
Meh for me.
Yes. You know what, though? He fucking...
he had some great moments, but there was just too many races where...
inconsistent.
He just wasn't there. I would say he had a lot of bad luck, though.
Yes.
He did have a few DNFs, and...
you know what, right?
Where he got, like, took out...
Even though Bottas fucking beat him in the title, what he did for Max won him that because he got Max in the safety car window.
Yeah.
Which made Red Bull be able to do that strategy. And his racecraft's fucking... good,
and
great.
He kept Hamilton behind in Turkey as well, and
yep.
I'm looking at Baku, and he legit could have won Baku if it wasn't from that dodgy pit stop.
Exactly. So we'll stick him above Bottas.
But I was disappointed. Yep. I expected more.
But you know what?
Maybe next season. He had a lot more bad luck than Bottas. I think he would have finished third comfortably without the failures and stuff like that.
I feel like with a second season under his belt, new regulations, maybe the Red Bull will be more even.
Yeah.
Next up, though, right, with Lando Norris.
Yeah, halfway through up Russia, like he's probably maybe arguably ahead of Max.
Yep, and since Russia,
I wouldn't say he was terrible.
I'd say he's been a wee bit unlucky since Russia, but
yeah, but he went from having a GOAT season, and then from Russia onwards, I'd say he had a meh season. So for me, that probably puts him into bottom of great. I would say bottom of great.
Yeah, I feel like Gasly far more consistent, but there was races like where Norris was like actually level on pace with Mark and shit.
You just would not have thought. I mean, you would not have thought at the halfway stage here Lando Norris was going to get beat by Sainz in the Drivers' Championship.
And that's it. Like, right, next up we have Daniel Ricciardo. I'm going to say bad. I don't give a fuck if he won a race.
He fluked it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna.
McLaren had pace in Monza. McLaren's got a good straight line pace.
I expect that.
And that is like the one race where he beat his teammate.
I'm sticking him behind Sebastian Vettel. Like.
I know. There was too many weekends where he was like legit over a second behind Norris.
That's just
Norris is like some races. Norris is mixed up with the Mercedes and the Red Bulls. Norris is like qualifying in the top 3, and this guy's putting it in 14th. Norris is getting podiums, and he's not even getting into the points. Come on,
what's he did?
Bad. I think Danny Ricks went down in my estimation.
I never held him that high.
No, me neither. But I think his whole logic was he was when he needed to leave Red Bull to get Max's shadow. I think he's done his career more damage. I think if he had a clock and he could rewind time, I think he would have preferred to. Well, I would if I was him. I'd have preferred to stay at Red Bull.
Yes, Ricardo should never have left because you got to do it logically. If he stayed at Red Bull, he'd have got more than 3 podiums and a win.
Yep.
And he would have been able to challenge for a title. Because, well, saying that, you never know. But Danny Rick at
No, but
Red
that's
Bull,
not really my reason. My reason is, people said he was getting beat by Max, but Max is like this generational talent.
And he wasn't getting smoked. Like,
I think...
Obviously, Max has got better, but...
Since then, he's went on to take on other drivers, and he's not been as impressive as you thought he'd be.
No.
I mean, he was pretty level with Hulkenberg, and then after that, it was his teammate Sainz.
No, it was fucking... Who was it last year? It was Ocon.
Yeah, was it?
I mean, he was better than Ocon, but how much is that Ocon in a year out?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean...
And now he's been beat by Norris convincingly, so... what would you say... I would say Danny Ricciardo, if you were ranking the entire grid in terms of talent, I think you either had Danny Ricciardo higher when he was number 2 at Red Bull than you do now.
Oh, absolutely.
I think if he gets beat by Max, you're like, well, Max is great.
Exactly.
But I think when he gets beat by Norris, you're like, well...
Yeah, I always thought this season, right, when's he going to turn it around? I know he won in Italy, but it didn't fucking go anywhere, did it?
Yeah.
And it didn't, but with 3 drivers to go somewhere. Next up, Charlie Boy Leclerc. Not a good... Well, it was good. It was alright, but I expected better. Considering last season and a heap of shit, he was fucking doing a lot better.
For me, it was a mess season from Charlie Leclerc.
Yeah, I think top of me, because he was still very consistent.
Yep.
He probably should have won Silverstone, but they got fucked over. You know, because Hamilton got a penalty that was literally a slap in the wrist without the slap.
Why is that?
And then Turkey, I think he got shafted.
A lot of people are saying Charlie Leclerc's overrated. I mean, can we just lay off? I mean, yeah, this season wasn't that great, but can we judge him next season?
He got back-to-back poles. I forgot about that.
Aye, and he wasn't allowed to race in Monaco. Sure, he didn't start. But I just think...
And him and Sainz still both beat Norris, didn't they? In the standings?
I think Sainz did. Leclerc did. I think just people are too quick to judge, right? Yep, he didn't have a great season. It doesn't mean he's shit, and it doesn't mean that he isn't up there with Max, because I think before this season people would have had Max and Verstappen pretty close.
Yeah, no, and Max and Leclerc, not Max and Verstappen.
Max and Leclerc pretty close, but now all of a sudden they're not close. I mean, I don't think you can judge it yet like that just yet.
Yeah, and it's also like people who watch F1 this year probably think Norris is better than Leclerc because of what's happened, but he's not. He's not.
Season. We'll see what happens next year. But yeah, for the talent that Leclerc has, I do think this was an underwhelming season for him.
Next up, though,
his teammate. Right, this is controversial because on paper this guy had a great season, but I would just put him top of good. I know it may seem harsh.
He was
consistent. He was really consistent, and he's got the record.
There was nothing.
He's got the record for most points finishes. Now I'm a big Sainz fan, and when he went there, people were saying he's going to be a number 2, and I was like, no, I think he can challenge Leclerc. I mean, even when you look at Sainz and Toro Rosso, he was pretty close. I mean, see if you look at their stats when his teammate with Verstappen, there's not a lot in it. Verstappen will score more points, but see if you look at the pace wise and their qualifying and race finishes, they were pretty fucking identical.
Yep.
But to me, Sainz was just good all throughout the season, really consistent. But I didn't see the kind of, for me, like Gasly and Norris at times just had those great moments. Whereas for me, Sainz was just...
He did get a few podiums, of course. Abu Dhabi, Monaco. I believe he got another one somewhere.
True. And you might be saying, well, how can you put Norris above Sainz when Sainz finished above him? But for me, what Norris was doing at the very start of the season when he was basically mixing it with the for the some races, it looks like he was mixing it for the wins.
And in Russia, midway.
Yeah.
He probably should have won Italy, but didn't really want them to race.
Like, not a lot in it. Like, I mean, I think you could easily put Sainz at the bottom of great, and I wouldn't have any issues with it either.
No.
But I just think... I think he had more good moments than great moments.
And that sums up, buddy.
And like, what is getting Norris great is the fact he was probably in the GOAT category for the first half of the season.
Exactly.
Now I've said that, without his first half of the season, Norris, I would probably
2/3 to be honest.
Yeah, without the last third though, I'd probably put Norris in the meh category, if we're being honest.
Well, Sainz was good throughout.
Yeah. But, you know,
and I think Leclerc was good throughout, but I think his reputation, he just warrants a meh.
Aye. Last but not least, it's Lance Stroll.
And I'm going to say...
For me, it's meh. It was just...
Bottom of meh.
Yeah, I've no issues with that.
And
I thought he got outscored by Vettel, but I thought he was a better driver. But when there was points on the line, Vettel seemed to finish higher in those races. So, I mean, it is what it is. Going into next season, I don't see Vettel getting better. You can argue it's his second season with the team. I think Vettel's done. I think he's a spent force. I think the guy is the only way
he's been done. Well, he's been done since Hockenheim 2018. But I mean, it's not like he was fucking brilliant before that.
But guys, that's our list. Let us know what you think. So we're going with Verstappen in the GOAT category, Hamilton, Gasly and Norris in the great category, Sainz, Russell, Alonso, Ocon in good. In the meh, we've got Leclerc, Perez, Bottas, Giovinazzi,
Latifi,
Mick Schumacher and Stroll. Bad, we've got Vettel, Ricardo, Kimi, and
Nikita Mazepin. And then Yuki Sonoda and awful.
I mean, Yuki Sonoda retains his seat. Very harsh in my opinion. Is this guy...
Not very lucky.
Very lucky. Is this guy better than Danny Kvyat? I don't think so. Actually, I know he's not. So, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is, guys.
And I thought since Honda was pulling out, they might be like, well, fuck it, we don't need a Japanese driver anymore, but...
Yep.
Apparently they do. But on that note, guys...
That's it. Next year, Battle of the Asians, can Yuki Tsunoda be better than the other dude? Yang Xing Xiu. We'll find out. Till then, though, that's our rank. Let us know what you think down below.
Peace.